do the same thing, but okay.
Hey everyone, and welcome to a very special pre-conversation to Superhero Speak.
Oh no.
See, JD is running late,
Oh no.
but he also has informed me he has yet to watch the first episode of Loki. So, while we are waiting for him to get here, John and I will discuss Loki, and then once he gets here, we can stop talking about it. So, you saw it, right, John?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Watched it 3 times.
Let me guess. Mephisto?
Mephisto! It was Mephisto! He put it at the picture! It was a...
Devil?
It was... That's Mephisto! Mephisto confirmed, damn it. I'm sorry for everybody's ears that I just blew out, but it's Mephisto. No. It's Mephisto, damn it. Just give us it this once.
No. But I have a theory, and we'll get to that in a minute.
It's really going to be Nightmare, right?
Oh, God, I hope they don't do that. So, first things first, what did you think of the episode? What did you think of the concept?
Oh, it's everything I hoped for. I swear Marvel just cannot do any wrong right now. We'll see what happens when they hit the iceberg that is the Eternals. But, you know, this gives me hope that, like, there is literally... They're just on point, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I will say it is kind of what we expected, but at the same time, they subverted our expectations because you kind of thought each episode was going to be him righting a different wrong in a timeline. So I thought the DB Cooper thing was going to be an entire episode, but no, it was just a flashback kind of gag thing in the episode.
Yeah. You're right. Like a lot of... So, I mean, we still have a bunch of other scenes from the promos that we haven't seen yet, but
like President Loki.
Yeah.
However, that's going to pan out. That's going to be interesting. I'm kind of also wondering how much of the stuff they've shown us is in like the first 3 or 4 episodes too, as well. So,
well, they've had plenty of time. Like they finished production before this first one went out. So.
Oh yeah. Pretty sure they're all done.
Yeah.
So of course Tom Hiddleston is back.
And God, he's brilliant.
He is. He starts off being the 2012 Loki from Avengers, and then of course he's playing off of Owen Wilson as Mobius, agent of the Time Variant Authority.
And originally in the TVA, they were all Mobius. Well, they were all clones.
In the comic, they're all clones. They're obviously not going with that storyline for the show. Thank God, because that would have been confusing on top of everything else.
Well, they just didn't want to give Owen Wilson like 18 checks. What's her name? Maslavny, when she was doing Orphan Black. I'm sure they had that same problem with her. It's like the hours are just too much.
That's a good point. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I wasn't so sure when I heard Owen Wilson was going to be basically, playing off of Hiddleston, and he's like the straight man in the show. And I was like, what? I don't know. I thought it really worked really well. What did you think? Did you like Owen Wilson in the show?
I think Owen Wilson, I think that character, they've got plans for that character, and he's hiding. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a battle of wits. It's going to be a game of chess, everything to see which one can take control of the board. And I mean, well, again, in the promos, it sort of sounded like Loki knew of them already. But in this, we find out, no, he had no clue. And he's and he had that one moment where he's sitting there with the Tesseract in his hand, looking at going, this is useless. These people are way more powerful than the Infinity Stones. What the hell's going on? Yes. Like his entire identity and his view of the universe is being radically changed. And it's disconcerting. It's what, I forget the name of the author. There was a book called Culture Shock that describes this kind of thing, where somebody going into another culture has this one moment where their entire worldview has to pivot.
Right. Well, and that's the interesting thing too, right? Because after I first watched it, I'm like, so they took one episode to take Loki from the 2012 irredeemable, I am burdened with great purpose Loki who wants to take over the 9 realms, to the Loki who sacrifices himself in Endgame.
Oh
And
yeah, they broke them down really quick, didn't they?
or not Endgame, Infinity War.
Yeah.
But did they? Like that's what I keep.
Well, yeah,
Keep
he's
going.
Loki, right? He could be
Exactly.
he could be playing everybody.
Is he right? Exactly. Is he playing Mobius at the end there, or did he really like?
Did he really have an epiphany?
An epiphany, right? Exactly. Yeah, that's and so you're right. It's I think it's that's what's if they stick with that cat and mouse chess game thing throughout the show, I think it'll be brilliant. If if he's like a good guy all of a sudden, yeah, I think it'll get boring quickly.
Yeah, well, yeah, and again, they won't do that. They're too good at this. We actually can rely on them to not do that, right?
Yeah, I think
By the
so.
way, it was really nice to hear Twilight Sparkle's voice in this show again.
Oh, Miss
Minutes. Tara Strong.
Is Tara Strong, yes. Yes. So,
one of the greatest voice actors of all freaking time.
Maybe.
The thing is, you've heard her do at least 5 voice with the circles we run in, you've heard her do at least 5 voices, and you would never know. You would never be able.
So you already talked about the Infinity Stones, and so that was one of the interesting things, right? Like,
yeah, it kind of rearranges our worldview of the MCU, right? Because he opens a drawer and we're looking down, and there's like all these Infinity Stones. You're like, wow, they really don't matter anymore. Holy shit!
Right, multiples of Infinity Stones.
Yeah, you're using it as paperweights. What the hell?
2 things about that. So we're gonna start getting into our like crazy conspiracy theories about the show.
Mephisto.
If and I could be wrong, but I've looked at it a couple times, and some of the stones are not the same shape and size. Like there's a couple different time stones, but one's like a little bigger than the others, and one's a little misshapen.
Well, usually even the colors are inconsistent between universes, right? That's what I remember.
So, but that's like, and remember, we've talked about this before. We talked about this with WandaVision, that they don't do anything by accident. So, I think what they do with that is they're trying to say like, hey, these come from multiple different timelines and different variants or multiple universes. So that's why they're different. But the other thing about this, so I thought that was cool, but the other thing that it points to is the Infinity Stones aren't gone. If anyone can get to this TVA, they can grab.
Well, yeah, but the Infinity Stones only work in the universe that they came from. So, like, they can't just take a couple of Infinity Stones and then run back to the main timeline MCU, right?
Can they?
No, they can't, because the stones from that universe are destroyed, and at some point they'll reconstitute. The Space Stone, I don't know, like I don't even know if the Tesseract will work if they brought it back, because it comes from a timeline that's been destroyed now.
Therein lies what Loki says at his trial is, in fact, my issue with the show.
What, that the Avengers are the
Avengers who messed with time, not Loki. He just took an opportunity that presented himself.
No.
So,
I went through that thought process. Go ahead, and then I'll tell you what happens.
And my issue is like, well, yeah, exactly. Like, if the Avengers didn't go back in time to steal those stones to bring to the future to stop Thanos, he would have never had the opportunity to escape.
Mm-hmm.
Thus, it is the Avengers' fault.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't matter, and I'll tell you why. Because the main timeline, what do they call it, the pristine timeline, or what do they keep using a word, and it's completely that. Anyway, the main timeline, the one that they're protecting, is the one that ends with the creation of the timekeepers, and that's the only thing that matters. As long as the timeline continues down towards where the timekeepers are created, they're fine with whatever happens.
That's from the comics.
Right.
They did not say that. I mean, and now, of course.
But they keep saying this, the pristine timeline, we must, the main timeline, we got to protect it. It's like, yeah, but why is that the one that matters? There's got to be a reason, right?
Yeah. And I actually was watching another video that made an important point, and it's kind of bugging me. And it's the fact that they made a point in Endgame
Mm-hmm.
to basically say you can't change the past.
Right, because
When
when
they're
you go
talking
back and change the past, that
your past, it's now your future.
your your past is your future, which means that the past that you've traveled back to now has a new future ahead of it.
Right.
Right. Because you're the timeline branched off.
Right. And also remember that the Ancient One explains it.
Basically the same as Miss Minutes did.
Right. That, but she was saying, like, by taking the Infinity Stones from their places in time, they created branches.
Mm-hmm.
And thus, well, that's why Captain America went back in time to put those back to restore it. However, based on that theory, he couldn't.
No, they brought back the Tesseract they
fact,
had, but not the one that they
but I'm
lost.
saying just the fact that he went back and put things back
mm-hmm.
means he was creating branches by doing that. So it's all very confusing. Yes.
No, because he brought the stones back to where they were and when they were taken. So basically, it was like they did this in the how it should have ended, right? Hulk walks away with the time stone from the Ancient One, and less than a second later, in walks Captain America. Oh, here's the time stone back. Oh, that was quick. See, I mean, like there's no blip. There's a continuity, right? So
no.
so yeah, so there was
because
never...
that's not the same time stone, because you've now changed it. So there's still a branch created at that moment.
that time stone still belongs to that timeline, though. You've brought back the same time stone.
No, see, I think they violate their own. I honestly, the more I think about it, they violated their own rules, and so that's also like, and they were talking about how then that ties into Loki, because then, like, if the TVA grabs him and brings him in, he created a branch that, like, he himself is a branch.
Well, yeah, he's a variant.
Right, he's a variant.
They destroyed that branch, though. They left one of those little...
But then shouldn't that have destroyed the variant?
No, because because...
So then why... But okay, so hold on.
It didn't destroy him. It destroyed that variant timeline.
So see, then it doesn't make sense, because then why did they have to bring the variant with them? If they just destroyed the timeline with him in it, it would have destroyed him as the variant.
Because they have to put him on trial.
Because that's what the plot says. That's what the script says.
Well, we don't know much about the workings of the TVA as it pertains to the MCU right now. So let's wait and see. But
yeah,
apparently they take the variant, the person or thing that changed the timeline, and they go and put him on trial. And then who knows what happens? There could be a whole bunch of different things, that happen to them there. Some of them get erased, and that's it. Others, like there have been times in the comics where, was it She-Hulk and the Fantastic Four have the Fantastic Four escaped, but yes, like She-Hulk was able to say, hey, this had to happen, and the TVA said, well, okay.
Well, and in the comics, the TVA created a team of variants.
Right. Yeah.
Of Avenger variants.
So we don't. There's a lot of reasons, right? And you look at it like this. A lot of people don't like bureaucracy, but when Loki looked out and saw the literal infinite bureaucracy there, he was like, "This place is hell. This place is mad."
Yes. He also said, "I thought there was no magic here." And they're like, "It's not magic.
It's all it's all technology, right?"
Yes. So who's the... All right, don't say Mephisto. Who's the cloaked figure at the end?
Either it's got to be Lady Loki, probably Lady Loki, or it could be... I don't know that they would introduce Kang like that, but maybe.
So there's the current theory is that it is Lady Loki, and she was created from a variant timeline
where
Oh,
Loki took over Lady Sif's body
right. But it was they're saying it was created
after
from
Ragnarok.
that that Steve Rogers created that somehow.
I don't know the full story behind it. That would be you and JD, but
I can't
I
remember.
brushed up a little bit on with Comics Explained, and I think it
No,
was
yeah,
there was Ragnarok. All of the oh god, what's the place? All the Asgardians were dead, and they were doing their cycle where they're coming back, and the body that was supposed to belong to Lady Sif got taken over by Loki's soul, and that was Lady Loki.
right. I can't remember what it was, but essentially the variant was caused. This timeline was caused, and so what happened was, Thanos. It was had to do with Thanos wasn't in his timeline, thus he never, like, the events of one of the movies then didn't happen. Ragnarok happened without Hulk being involved,
Hmm.
so they ended up staying, and yes, so then got resurrected as Lady Loki, and thus Lady Loki then learned that about the TVA, they want to destroy that timeline, so that's why she's gathering up those devices to keep them from, because that's an important thing too. I don't know if everyone noticed this who was watching. They're looking at that little, what do you ever want to call it, the little iPads, and there's the line, and it's going, there's like a red blinking line, and basically I think that's the point of no return. If the timeline reaches that red line, they can't fix it with their devices.
That's interesting.
But I
Yeah.
think
It was,
I'm
I mean, it was alluded to something bad happens when it hits that red line. So
yeah.
maybe when it hits that red line, Kang the Conqueror comes back into existence. No, it's like what they keep saying that there's only one timeline right now, right? But if I remember correctly, Kang basically ruled like several universes.
Yeah.
That's how big he was.
Well,
So like did they
my
must have wiped all of his timelines, and now if it hits the red line, if one of these variant timelines hits the red line, he comes back into existence, I guess. I don't know.
my guess is that she's going to gather up these devices, explode them all at once, and it's going to explode into multiple timelines, multiple universes, and thus lead into the multiverse of
Yeah, I
madness.
was going to say there's no way I mean, this is going to tie heavily into it. They keep saying that you don't need to watch this in order to understand that, but you know, it gives it, there's a lot of flavor that you're missing if you don't see these WandaVision and Loki.
Yeah. So, oh, exactly. And then because I honestly, and again, it's just a theory. That's my guess is that this is going to, unless one of those movies starts with like the ending scene of Loki showing them creating it, but then it's like, still, how did you get there? Yeah, that's my guess is that however this show ends is going to create the multiverse. That's going to, I honestly think it's going to tie into Spider-Man and then Multiverse of Madness. So,
Fascinating.
and it's also somehow the way they're going to bring Black Widow back. No, that's not going to happen.
No, because that's the scrolls that are going to do. That's part of what is it? What war is that? I can't remember now. The one the scrolls.
The Kree Scroll
Invasion.
War.
That's
Oh,
Invasion.
Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion, right?
Yes, which they are doing Secret Invasion as a TV miniseries. I do think, what was I going to say? That, like, we keep doing that, saying, oh, maybe she was a scroll and that's how they're going to bring it back. Because, again, there's rumors they're going to make 2 more Black Widow movies based off of this movie. And it was like, because apparently the actress who plays her sister, the blonde, I can't remember the character's name, has signed a contract for 3 movies, and so did a couple of the other people in the movie. And it's like, well, wait a minute, like, and apparently I think Scarlett Johansson said that she still had 2 movies contracted with Marvel.
Two movies for her, and not just as like appearances, right? Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it's not just appearances. So who knows?
And you're talking about Florence. Oh my God, Florence Pugh. I'm not sure. And Rachel Weisz. Oh, Rachel Weisz. Oh, I'm gonna see her in a movie. That's great. Never mind. Sorry.
We need to get you a girlfriend. We need to get me a girlfriend too. If any ladies are watching.
And there they go.
Oh.
There goes our, female sector. Thanks, Dave.
So anyway, at this point, that is my theories. I don't think, again, I think because this episode concentrated on, I think, the character arc of Loki, showing him his beginning, middle, and end, basically, and having him quote unquote accept it, but and then want to help out. But I still think it's a ploy.
We know that there's gonna be a war of wits. Which is like this can't be a series about Loki unless there's a war of wits, unless we're constantly being kept on our toes. Like there's going to be a Shyamalan twist at the end of every one of these episodes,
right? So yeah, I think so.
So are we ready for bringing him on? Should we take him out of the cone of silence now?
Well, I just messaged him to see if he's home yet. So
okay.
He apparently had to pick up his son. That's why he's running late. So,
all right. Well,
and it's starting to thunderstorm here. I don't know if it's thunderstorming out in Chicago.
Well, no, it's probably not. But it's thunderstorming here. So, what else can we talk about? All right, Mephisto. It's Mephisto. Goddamn.
I thought of you the moment the kid pointed at the devil.
Every single, that's a huge. The only reason they did that is because it's a huge troll, and they did that purposefully. They knew they were going to get that reaction.
I honestly think so. I totally agree. Since everyone kept saying Mephisto was going to show up in WandaVision, I really think that's what they were like. Oh, there you go. There's your devil. But when Loki has the helmet on, he's got the big horns, and that's why Mobius or Owen Wilson thinks that it's Loki, the Loki that they have, not female Loki. So, and then I will say this. Okay, so the other point I want to bring up is that hold on, I want to make sure I got the name right. Oh shoot! There's an actress who's her role is uncredited in the show.
Oh, in Loki.
In Loki, yes, and we haven't seen her yet.
Oh, you're talking Sophia Di Martino.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, we talked about her last episode. She's the one that we think is Lady Loki.
Yes. Okay, so I wasn't sure if we mentioned that last time. Yes, that is the current theory as well out there by other people that is Lady Loki. All right, fine. Darn it, I'm trying to stretch because JD's not here yet.
That's okay. So what else we got on board here? You're gonna have to cut this out. We are doing.
So that is Loki talk for this week.
Yes.
No. Hopefully, Loki, JD.
No Loki pokey stick yet.
Hopefully, JD will watch it this week, and then we can talk with him next week about it. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. What do you think of them? What do you think of them taking off Loki's clothes? Did you get excited?
No, I did not. I did get sad though when they confirmed that Phil Coulson actually did die, and they are basically cutting the entire Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. loose.
Oh yeah. I just saw an article about that the other day where it was like basically the title of the article was, "Sorry folks, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't canon." And I think they were that's the whole point. They were alluding to them saying that like that's where Coulson died, and then
happened in a different universe.
Yep. So they confirmed it. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not part of the MCU proper. Damn them.
It's going to be interesting though, because like DC is handling their multiverse very differently. Like their multiverse actually exists, and yeah, they had the in Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW, which is bleeding over into their main universe, their movie universe, which is actually better than how MCU is doing it, because the MCU they're basically saying there's only one timeline and all the others were just fake, and like there is no multiverse yet, but there's going to be after Loki, I guess.
Right. Well, they said there was a multiverse, and then the timelines fought until there was one sacred universe.
The sacred universe. That's it. The sacred timeline.
There was one sacred timeline.
Yep.
And the timekeepers preserve it so that there won't be another time war.
Right. But we know that the only reason that they're preserving it is so that they will exist at the end of it.
Well, we'll see.
Well, they actually they're created at the end of it by the last guy. They have a special name for the last guy.
We'll see if they stick to that storyline in the MCU. They probably will, and that'll probably be the big twist. Like, the big twist might be the Time Lords got rid of the other timelines to preserve this timeline to make sure they get created, and that's why this Loki is the lady Loki is trying to destroy or bring the other timelines back, because they don't want, she thinks what they Time Lords did was wrong. I could be a writer for Marvel.
Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, I wonder if we'll see. Well, we're not going to see the time twisters, I guess, because they basically are calling those little clicker
devices,
things, time twisters. So the time twisters themselves, the actual beings, are not going to appear, but we may get a chance to see the one who was it He Who Remains.
He Who Walks Behind. Oh yeah, no, that's later on the show. Yes. He Who Remains. Yeah, I do wonder if we're going to get a Kang cameo at some point.
Well, the whole point of this with the TVA, you're going to wind up with Kang. Like, he's going to show up in this. There's I can't see how they can't pull another 10 Rings. What is his name? Shoot. You know who I'm talking about.
Mandarin?
Yeah, the Mandarin.
They can't pull another Mephisto's going to show up in this, and he doesn't show up. Give us hints of Mephisto.
No, that they can do in perpetuity. They're going to do that in every show now. They're going to just you want Mephisto, huh? Here. Look. That might be Mephisto. Look. Oh no, look at this guy. Oh, that means Mephisto, doesn't it? Oh yeah. Go ahead.
I think, and at one point they should have a scroll turn into Mephisto.
That would be hilarious.
Now,
so why don't we go through social media madness?
No, because it's more fun with JD.
I really think we should we should skip ahead and do it while we're waiting for him.
You just don't want to do social media madness, so you want to get it out of the way.
I'm saying I'm throwing myself on the sword of social media madness so that he doesn't have to.
Well, we still got to talk about our week. We're going to have to take our first commercial break.
Yep. Well, let's do it.
In fact, why don't we do that? We're going to take our first commercial break right now. Maybe when we get back, JD will be here and we can start the show proper.
If you're looking for adventure this summer, escape with Marvel Comics. Fight crime with Spider-Man, meet the Fantastic Four, and watch Captain America in action. May the Force be with you as you battle the evil empire in Star Wars. Discover the secrets of the South American jungle in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And with Marvel Comics, you're never alone because they can go with you in the car or to the park, even on a rainy day. Marvel Comics are your ticket to fun and adventure this summer.
All right, and we're back, everyone, and look who joined us
Mephisto.
after the commercial break.
It's Mephisto.
Hey everyone. So yeah, I did not have a chance to watch Loki this week. I was planning on watching it on Friday night, and my dog died. So
That's right.
Sorry.
I spent all Friday night comforting a 5-year-old who had gone through his first sense of loss. Mm-hmm. And then Saturday I worked. And then Sunday, what the hell did I do last night? Last night I was finishing the book that we're reading tonight. So it occurred to me about when Dave sent the email out, I'm like, holy shit, I forgot about Loki. That's very unlike me.
Yeah, well, come on. When you lose a pet, that's, they're like family. He'd been 12 years?
15.
15? Oh my God. Yeah.
And I'm sorry for your loss, but I will also point out you had 2 extra days because it started on Wednesday.
Who gets time to watch TV on Wednesday and Thursday? Not me.
I watched it on Wednesday. We have no lives.
You don't have a 5-year-old.
No, we don't.
No.
So, yes, I did not. I booked the time. I was going to watch it Friday night.
It's fine. I mean, seriously, sorry for you.
Yeah, sorry for your loss. So I guess that's how your week was, JD.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Hey everyone, and welcome to Superhero Speak. I'm your host, Dave.
And John, we just did this.
JD, didn't I interrupt the show? I thought you guys were doing the show without me.
No, but we just started talking about Loki. And
when you said that, I thought you were going to talk about the show, that show on our show, and then I would come in later because I missed the show.
We had just finished talking about it. I said we'll take a commercial break, and then you came on. It was like perfect timing.
You missed the big Mephisto reveal.
You know, John, 6 months ago I might have believed that.
You're gonna love it. There will be no spoilers, but there will be a scene that will make you think of John.
Let's just say that the MCO has lowered itself to majorly trolling
to trolling John specifically.
No, just all of their fans. They're trolling everybody now.
That was a John troll if I've ever seen.
They're big bad trolls.
Perhaps this evening after the show, I will finally step down and watch it. So yes.
So John, we just went right into Loki talk. How was your week?
That's
Ting tang walla walla bing bang.
Bing bang, right? Thanks.
Yes.
Oh, ooh ee ooh ah, right. So just nothing really going on. Not much. No. Actually starting to look forward to next year starting up with the conventions again. Still not really, not really excited about them this year, but next year definitely. So
we'll see. I mean, it's like the cases are next to nothing now, and it's really winding down. So I think I really do think we're at the end of it. So
I had dinner at a restaurant with my wife and my child today for the first time, like 15 months, something like that. And I forgot I have celiac disease, and then I had to. I barely got out of the restaurant without needing a new pair of pants. So that was fun. It's been an eventful couple of days for me.
I worked out without a mask today.
I thought I was going to, and the gym I'm at said, no, you have to keep wearing your mask. And I said, oh, okay. So whatever. I had it.
Yeah. That was weird. It's funny because they had lifted the restrictions a week ago outside of the city in the state of Pennsylvania. And then they just did it Friday in the city. But I don't watch the news, so I didn't hear about it or anything. And I went to the gym Friday morning, and everyone was wearing their mask. So I just had, I just had mine on out of habit. And then I got home, and I was talking to my mom, and she's like, "Oh yeah, did you wear your mask? Because they lifted it." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, today in Illinois, this was our first day of phase 5, which we've been prolonging for a year.
Of course.
And so today's the first day people could walk around and not wear masks unless they wanted to. Because of this guy who just wandered in, no vaccine available. So when we go out together as a family, we're still wearing masks because he can still get sick.
It's amazing you have Batman walk in at any time, in your house.
He got a paddle. What do you call this thing?
Paddleball.
Yeah,
paddleball. That's what I thought. Yeah, he got a paddleball thing at Target today, so he's pretty excited about it. Hang on one second. Hey, bud. Say hi to everybody, and then you got to go downstairs, okay?
Yo, man.
So you can say hi to the microphone.
Hi. Hello. Hi. He can't hear us because it has headphones.
We're waving.
Actually, you don't grab the microphone, bud. It's inappropriate. Who's your favorite superhero? Tell them who your favorite superhero is. Tell them. Say on the microphone who your favorite superhero is.
It's Hulk.
Hulk.
Oh.
Don't grab the microphone, bud. Don't grab the microphone.
All right.
I know.
All right. Love you.
Oh yeah.
Go downstairs. Love you. Close the door.
He's gonna have fun when we have She-Hulk come out, huh?
He ain't watching that. He's never watched. He'll watch little things, but he can't sit through a movie. He doesn't have the attention span. Close the door. I can see you. Good night, Andrew. He's a ham. I have a 5-year-old ham. He'll watch the cartoons and stuff. They're doing a Spider-Man cartoon for little kids. That's perfect. I'm very excited for him to watch that.
Spider-Man swings.
Something like that. We watched the trailer and I was
action.
Yeah, it's like Justice League action. They have the theme song was by Fall Out Boy, which blew me away. It's actually pretty good. So I'm looking forward to getting to watch that with him soon.
Well,
nice.
Yeah. Oh, and then the other thing I did this week, I finally launched my new podcast.
Oh, hey, you should have posted that. I didn't get to hear it.
I posted it on my Facebook page.
I'm not on Facebook, so.
No wonder you're so healthy and well adjusted.
Did I tell you my Facebook trick?
No.
I unfollowed everyone.
Ah.
That's
So
not
now
a trick.
I have no opinions. I go onto Facebook and it's just the groups and the pages that I like. There is no human interaction. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I love it. I'm such a happy person now.
So yeah, it's called Spiritually Speaking. The first 3 episodes are up.
Who did you interview for your 3 episodes?
The first episode is only like 15 minutes. It's just an introduction, explaining the show, why I'm doing it, and whatnot. The second episode is Don D Square. So he talks about Christianity and some moments in his life that affirmed his faith. And then episode 3 is a new friend of mine. Her name is Maddie, and she's a pagan, and she's a Reformed Christian turned pagan, and she explains, how
they call them recovering Christians, but okay.
She explains how she came into paganism and why she follows it, and things that she's done in her life that have affirmed her faith.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very good. And the fourth episode is recorded. It will be edited. It will be up on Sunday. I'm planning to release this show on Sundays. I'm not heavily promoting it yet. There is a Twitter. It's Spiritually SP8. It's at Spiritually SP8 on the Twitters. And so I'm not heavily promoting it just yet. But the 4th episode is 8-Bit Ray from the Gorilla Brain podcast. When I told the people of the Greek World All-Stars that I was doing this, he was the first one that jumped on it. And his story shocked me the most so far, and that's the 3rd person I interviewed, and it's very powerful, and that's all I'm going to say about it. And I think every man who listens to this show should listen to that episode when it goes up on Sunday, because it's a very powerful message, and we talk about stuff that men don't normally talk about but should talk about. So yes, it's
when I get hemorrhoids.
The hemorrhoids are no joke, man. We don't make jokes about hemorrhoids. So you interviewed pagan people against goodness and normalcy?
No, that is not what paganism is. I love how that John laughed, because he is or was a practicing Wiccan at one point.
That's for most of my life.
That's from the movie Dragnet. Those are the bad guys in the movie. Pagan people against goodness and normalcy. Yes,
it's been a long time.
It's a long time since I've seen
It's an old movie, but it pops in my head every chance I get.
One of the funniest movies ever.
Yes, it is. It is underrated, and it has a really good cast, and it just never quite caught on. Maybe it's not as good as I remember it being, because it should. It's got Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks. People should love this movie. I need to watch it again. But yes. Good for you. I'm glad you're expanding your wings and doing something completely different, and talking to similar people, but getting different aspects of their personality.
Exactly. And of course, I've already got James Schumacher, who was the inspiration. That his interview on this show was the inspiration behind that. He's lined up to. And he'll probably be the 5th episode. So yeah, I mean, and it's cool because I'm trying to get a bunch recorded and bank them, because it's evergreen. I kind of like that, where I don't have to hunt. I had 3 recorded in a week, but I released them all at once. But yeah, we're not talking topical news that we got to stay on top of every week, and social media madness and all that fun stuff. Oh, yeah. I guess we should get to social media madness. We did not do it without you, JD.
Damn it. We're hoping. I mean,
But I dodged a bullet.
I tried. I was going to throw myself on that sword. I tried to get him to do it.
Yes, he did. He honestly did. But I was like, no, this is a good. We were a half hour in. I'm like, this is a good place to put a commercial break in. And then you popped in. So there you go.
And there we go.
All right, let's do this.
All right. So starting off, of course, we talked about Aaron Taylor Johnson being cast as Kraven, who was Quicksilver in Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
And
who's also the other guy in Kick-Ass.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, also the main guy in Kick-Ass. Mr. Happy said intriguing. Jim, who's at Jim Keeper Official, said, oh man, I got a feeling he's going to kill it in a good way. And the Omega Level Nerds podcast said, you didn't see that coming. And it's a gif of Quicksilver saying, you didn't see that coming.
Ha, 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 ha. Nice.
You missed it. The Dr. Pop Culture, BGSU, said,
Meh. I
don't know. That's a rather strong opinion for something from a person getting cast we've seen nothing of. who on appearance, like the picture you posted, homie looks like Kraven the Hunter. So I don't know I don't know what people are looking for out of this one.
Yes. Yeah. So then, also, on a different thread, talking about it, Derek Strong, who does follow us, and I believe listens to the show, said, never heard of him.
You just don't realize it.
Yes, and then of course I replied with the same gif of Quicksilver saying, you didn't see that coming.
To be fair, he looks like a completely different human being.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the blonde hair, and he's not as big.
He's big. He's real big. Like, he's like big. Like, he's definitely doesn't look like the guy at all from Kick-Ass. So, I mean, like,
that's true too.
Very different than what you think
he's got. Like, he's got like very curly hair and Kick-Ass.
Yeah, like he does. Like I said, it looks like a completely different person. Like, it's bizarre that like, because usually actors try to maintain a specific look. This guy went. I can't think of anything to compare it to. Like,
he went to Hugh Jackman.
He's a character actor, you know, especially you know, especially if you look at the character actors from the 50s and the 60s and the 70s where they were chameleons and lost themselves in their roles. I really think, you know, that's probably what he's going for. Or even look at Christian Bale and The Machinist, lost all that weight and then bulked up to play Batman. And then
that's still like in the face, you know that's Christian Bale. This guy doesn't even look the same. Like, his like face looks different. So it's like I said, I'm very curious to see what this is going to be. I'm pretty sure it's going to suck, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Because of him, or just because a Kraven movie without Spider-Man makes no sense?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. Like, Sony is not. It's not what I'm interested in.
Sony's just completely and utterly desperate to keep those properties by making trash movies. Like,
but they have to keep them. But they have to keep the ball rolling. And I think the Spider-Man MCU movies count anyway. But you know, the clock is ticking on those. So who knows after this one? Who knows what's going to happen?
I know, because I think Sony wants to tie it all together, and Marvel doesn't want them to.
Well, Marvel could care less. Like, Marvel can just not acknowledge it like they do with S.H.I.E.L.D. Right? Yeah. Like, they're like, yeah, sure, go do that. Whatever.
Oh.
Just pretend like it doesn't happen.
Oh, yeah. S.H.I.E.L.D.
Remember that? Remember S.H.I.E.L.D.? It's on for 7 years.
We talked about that.
We talked about it. I'm
on point. Some with S.H.I.E.L.D., huh? Does it tie? Does Loki? I don't want to know.
Well, we could. This is not a spoiler. It's just that they kind of confirmed that Phil Coulson is dead. But
Phil Coulson is dead.
Right. But that's like that's what Feige and everybody's been saying for a while now, is that, like, you know, they kind of
died in Avengers.
Yeah,
because if he comes back to life, that totally cheapens the entire reason for the Avengers rallying together, right? Like, so it's official that S.H.I.E.L.D. takes place in a different universe.
Yeah, they don't really say it.
They don't really say that.
Or another timeline, which would be really weird because that timeline existed for a lot longer than it would take for the Timekeepers to normally.
No spoilers for JD.
Yeah,
cut me some slack. Let me see the damn show.
Yeah. Come on, John. Careful.
Yeah.
All right. So on a story that won't stop giving, we got a lot. I just grabbed one of the threads this week, but the Fast and Furious Jurassic Park crossover.
Dude, they should actually make this movie based on how much traction our Twitter is having.
I know, Mike. There's so much buzz on this, but of course, I grabbed it for two reasons. Number one, I liked some of these answers, and two, you'll see in a second. The Recast of podcast said, initial instinct is no, but I'm open-minded. I would like to see a plot summary.
Fair.
Timothy Jones. So now you know why I grabbed this thread. I think this movie would be great. The cars are running on fossil fuels anyway.
Boo!
Oh my God.
Sour grapes.
Not one of your better ones, Tim. Yeah, sour grapes available at finer newspapers across the country.
Nice.
Boo.
Nice.
And then Jay, who's at
Duo Wolves.
Duo Wolves.
Like two wolves.
Yes, two wolves. Duo Wolves. Said, It'd be all kinds of awesome if they did.
They should make the movie because they would make money and people would talk and we'd have to watch it just out of sheer morbid curiosity.
I
oh my
know.
God, you'd have to watch that just like you'd have to watch Velocipaster. I mean, like just because there's no way you could miss something like that.
Velocipaster.
If I ever join the mafia, I'm going to change my name to Jimmy Two Wolves.
Oh, I'm Johnny No Thumbs. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and I'm Italian, so I can make that joke.
And then John can be Johnny 2 Feet.
Yeah,
2 feet.
Just call me Ogre.
It's terrible, but I like it at the same time.
I know.
Johnny 2 feet. Of course he's got 2 feet.
Why, thank you.
It's one of my favorite jokes. And then finally, we had talked last week about Marvel killing off Doctor Strange in the comics in the Death of Doctor Strange storyline. Of course, we all know that comic book deaths aren't permanent, but we said, I did say over on Twitter, do we think this would affect the movies? And then, of course, Ucho Duro Parlay, our podcast, who we haven't heard from in a while, said, no effect on the movies, because fully banking in a retcon in comics down the road. So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course, everybody is.
One of my favorite Twitter accounts out there, the Ocho Duo Parlay Hour. They actually have a really good Twitter feed. I highly recommend following them.
Yes, and listening to their podcast.
Yes, listen to the podcast too. But I mean, I actually really like the Twitter feed, even regardless of the podcast. It's a really good Twitter feed.
It's better than most of the garbage on Twitter. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I am just saying that a lot of Twitter sucks. But I do like their engagement. It's fun.
All right, so now we can move on to Nerd Madness. We had the finals for the different categories this week. Starting off with comics, we had the Daredevil run versus Immortal Hulk. This was a close one, but Immortal Hulk takes it 57.1% to 42.9%.
Huh.
A lot of people like the Immortal Hulk run.
Yeah, I'm curious about this. I'm thinking about picking up some trades.
I'm gonna have to pick them up too.
I've never been much of a Hulk reader, but this sounds intriguing.
Oh, I love the Hulk. I've for a long time, because I do turn green when I get angry.
Isn't me or someone's microphone shaking? I hear like microphone like shaking around.
Is it picking up my fan?
I don't know. I hear something. That's why.
Okay. Well, just ignore it, because if I turn the fan off, then I'll die of sweat.
Fair.
The Gorilla Brain podcast said, well, and just be thankful I don't have my air conditioner on, because then it would be really bad. A well-written Hulk story is something I never could have anticipated, so it gets my vote.
Oh, to be fair, there's good Hulk stories.
Yes.
World Hulk. Was it World?
World Hulk is all right.
Yeah.
Planet Hulk is very good.
Planet Hulk is very good. Yeah.
Like Peter David wrote the book for like a decade, and those were all really good stories. So I mean, it's not like, come on, let's be real.
Yeah. All right, John. The final matchup for anime. We had Attack on Titan versus Demon Slayer.
I am kind of disappointed in this one. So Attack on Titan took it 60% to Demon Slayer's 40%.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, but this might be personal preference for me. Like, a lot of people like the really convoluted personality-based storylines of Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Where things are just really, really messy and dark and whatever. I like the hopefulness of Demon Slayer. So
I also just think Attack on Titan has a really big following.
Right, especially since this is the last season. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, Demon Slayer still did pretty good though.
Yeah. Again, the Gorilla Brain podcast chimed in and said, Attack on Titan was a milestone in animation.
In animation or in storytelling, there's a difference.
Statement.
It is a bold statement.
I mean, some of the animation, there's a lot of Sakuga in Attack on Titan. Just remember, that's a rule of thumb for anime. Sakuga, good. Sakura, useless. You'd understand if you're an anime fan. But yeah, I mean, Sakuga meaning, like, they'll put out a bunch of episodes where like only people lip flaps and all that because they're saving money, and then they will like drop a bundle on a different animation house that will make 30 frames per second and all the dynamic movement, everything. And there's a lot of that dynamic movement in Attack on Titan when they're like fighting the Titans and they're flying through the air.
Right.
Really, really nice animation with that. So, but you see that in Demon Slayer too now, and a whole bunch of others. One Punch Man. And
so we have a bloodbath, guys.
Oh, we do.
We have a bloodbath in the final TV matchup.
Thanks for shutting me down, by the way. That's okay.
Well,
I would have gone on for
hour.
15 minutes. Yeah,
exactly. Of course, the final TV matchup was The Mandalorian versus Picard. It's this one. This poll got the most votes.
Who got the red shirt?
The Mandalorian wins at 91.4%.
Holy crap!
To Picard's 8.6%.
Is Picard that bad?
I don't think Picard's that bad. I just think people like The Mandalorian better.
Mandalorian is one of the best. There's like a cultural icon ship.
Oh yeah. It's well, I think it's because it surprised the crap out of everybody.
Yes, best Star Wars thing that's been done since 1980.
The Omega Level Nerds podcast said Star Trek is less than Star Wars Mandalorian.
I expect God to have it during. Yes.
Well, part of that can be traced back to Paramount and basically how they've handled the Star Trek.
There's a lot of
handing it to Abrams, and
there's a lot of issues with Star Trek and craziness with rights and them changing stuff. And then the Gorilla Brain podcast said poor Picard with a GIF of I won't say James Bond. It's who's the actor who plays James Bond? Daniel Craig.
One? Oh, okay.
Daniel Craig saying it's a bloodbath.
Okay.
Is that from when he was on Saturday Night Live or something? I don't recognize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Eric Baker said, I'm a huge Trek fan, but I enjoyed The Mandalorian way more than I did Picard. So, yeah.
I can see that, though. I mean, from what I've seen of Picard, I think Don said it best last week. He said it doesn't really matter. None of the other voting matters. It's who's going to be destroyed by the Mandalorian in the end. Which is, I kind of think that we're headed down that road. Finally, we have our movie matchup, our movie final, and we had One Night in Miami versus Pixar's Soul. One of the weird. That's a weird.
Movies were so weird this year. That is one of the weirdest matchups ever,
and a very poor result. Very poor.
Yeah, well, I still think Onward should have beat Soul. So
it's got less votes than the anime matchup. That's weird.
It did. It just, I don't know. It's a bad year for movies. And One Night in Miami was a Netflix exclusive, and Soul was Disney. I don't know. Whatever. It's a terrible result. You people who voted for Soul over that are stupid, and I hate you all.
So Soul won.
The gauntlet's been thrown
at 74.2% to 25.
And that's not even close. That's an ass whooping. And it's like, did you people actually watch this movie, or you just vote for someone with some cute cartoon characters? Because it wasn't even the best animated thing Disney put out. And I like Soul. Don't get me wrong. It was good. But it wasn't as good as Onward, and it definitely wasn't as good as One Night in Miami. People are morons. Morons.
Thanks for alienating our audience there.
That's what I do.
Devlin Cox said, this one is tough.
It was fair enough. I hope you voted for One Night in Miami.
And Kevin Israel said, One Night in Miami sounds like an awesome superhero movie in South Beach.
I rest my case.
So that means, guys.
Yes.
We have comics. So we would have Immortal Hulk going up against television.
Ooh.
The Mandalorian.
That's actually a tough fight. That's a tough matchup. Immortal Hulk's been playing very well.
And then Attack on Titan will be taking on Soul.
I don't know what to think about that one. Soul has been the Cinderella story of the tournament.
So, yes, and then whoever wins that will take on the Mandalorian. I mean, we'll take on the winner of the other. So yeah, this is we're getting near the end, people. Only one can be reign supreme. So get your Mando helmets ready to celebrate. I mean,
we'll get the answer in 3 or 4 months.
No. Two more weeks. So I bet you're wondering, you're sitting there, you're watching on YouTube, or you're listening on your favorite podcatching device. You're wondering, how can I be a part of this? Well, here's our good friend D Squared to tell you more about how you can follow us over on social media and be part of Social Media Madness and vote in Nerd Madness.
Want to be part of Social Media Madness? Make sure you're following superheroespeak.com, where you can find all of the social media links for the show at the top of the page. While you're there, check out previous episodes of the podcast as well as other great content. And check the site often because we are posting great comic book reviews as well as other comic book and movie content every day. Make sure you are following us on Twitter at SuperheroSpeak. And while you're there, check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. Simply follow them at *_geek. The Geek World All-Star Podcast Network include great programs such as the Pup Prism Power Podcast, Colt 45, So Wizard, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain Podcast, and of course, Super Hero Speak. Search for GW All-Stars. You will not be disappointed. Now it's back to Dave and the boys on Superhero Speak.
All right. Thank you for that, Don. We appreciate that every week. Thank you again for doing Spiritually Speaking as well. Sorry, gotta plug the new show a little bit. On that, don't forget to check out the Omega Level Nerds podcast, available on YouTube and wherever podcasts are available. And on that note, we're going to take our second commercial break, and we'll be right back.
If you're looking for adventure this summer, escape with Marvel Comics. Fight crime with Spider-Man, meet the Fantastic Four, and watch Captain America in action. May the Force be with you as you battle the evil empire in Star Wars. Discover the secrets of the South American jungle in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And with Marvel Comics, you're never alone because they can go with you in the car or to the park, even on a rainy day. Marvel Comics are your ticket to fun and adventure this summer.
I'm a dork. All right. We are back, boys and girls. And we don't have much news to talk about this week, but we do have a couple little things, some previews that came out we can talk about. And then
there was a late breaking story that came out too that I'd like to bring up out of the blue.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Well, let's.
I'll hold on to it.
Okay, so first, we don't normally talk video games, but I their E3 was last week. A lot of trailers and whatnot came out, but the only superhero game that came out of that looked interesting to me was the Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be getting their own game, which is interesting because they haven't been doing Marvel video games until they did the Avengers, and now they're doing a Guardians of the Galaxy game. Did you guys have a chance to look at the trailer, and what did you think?
I'm looking at it right now as we speak because I did not watch this before, and the timing is weird because we haven't had a Guardians movie since 2017. Right, it's 2021. Yeah. I find the timing bizarre. I'm also mildly entertained they chose to not cut the actors a check, so the likenesses are completely different. And apparently, they gave Peter Quill Johnny Lawrence hair.
Yes, and it's funny because if you listen to the voices, most of them are definitely different. But who's ever doing Rocket is doing their best.
Bradley Cooper impression.
Bradley Cooper impression is Rocket. It was just like, oh wow. And then, of course, I am Groot. I mean, anyone can sound like Vin Diesel doing Groot. So,
well, yeah, if you gargle gravel, basically.
Not, I am Groot.
But I mean, yes, I will say that. Like the different actors. I mean, and I'm sure it's always difficult to get them to do the games. I don't know. Maybe
I would have thought that all the contracts by the time that Guardians of the Galaxy came around, all the contracts would have included all media, including video games.
But they have to pay them to do the mocap.
Right.
They don't want to do that.
Yeah, and I also kind of think
it costs a lot more. Costs a lot more to hire.
Like I said, they haven't been doing Marvel video games. They're just getting back into it, so that might not have been a consideration. When they put those contracts together. But if you watch the trailer, it does capture the vibe, the comedic vibe from the movies. It was really good. Are you listening with sound, JD?
Big part. No, I did. I had turned the sound off so we could do this.
Yeah. Okay. So So I also want to point out that the background song in the trailer is "I Need a Hero."
Oh, He-Man you're talking about.
No.
Oh, they used it for both?
They used it for, yeah, nice.
What are the odds of that?
Exactly.
That's weird.
Yeah.
What? You just threw me for a loop on that.
Yes.
I don't know.
Bonnie Tyler's good month for her.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have used it in the He-Man. Like, it's just that using that track is just so cliche now. You know?
I guess I make a segue. The other trailer that came out, we were going to talk a little bit about this show last week, but we didn't. But now we did get our first official look at He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Oh, what's it called, John?
Revelations, yeah.
The continuation of the 80s Filmation cartoon. According to Kevin Smith, that was his plan, is like he wanted to continue, but it does not. I mean, this feels like, no, let's take the cartoon from the 80s and dial it up to 11.
It looks more like a continuation of the Cartoon Network series from the early 2000s.
Right, because that's canon too, right? But the characters were the designs were different.
It feels spiritually closer to that than the, which is fine. The original He-Man should not be watched if you're over the age of 7. You know.
Right.
I found it fascinating. I like the concept in the trailer. They show an army all dressed in the same armor,
like Man-at-Arms. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
It's like, oh, that makes sense. Like, it wasn't just one crazy guy in a suit of armor. There was a whole army wearing that same armor.
He was the leader of them.
Yeah,
I buy that. I don't know. I liked it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm excited.
John?
There was some controversy over a picture that they had of Tila, but that seems to have gone by the wayside because in the trailer she had her old design. They had a new design in the picture that was released by Kevin, but it's not what was in the trailer. So I'm not sure what's going on with it.
Is it possible that picture that was released was an original concept art, and then the people at Mattel went no?
Yeah, well, there was a huge internet backlash against it.
Well, it doesn't matter if there's a huge internet backlash. The show is done. They can't go back and fix the show.
Right. It's just which is why I find it weird that they released that one image with
maybe that's
her
what
not looking like Tila.
Maybe that's what Kevin Smith wanted originally. Mattel said no, so they went with the design closer to the original Tila, and he just released it as like haha, look.
Or maybe she starts one way and turns the other.
That's possible.
Throughout the course of the show, I don't know. There could be some time travel or time gap, because it looks like He-Man is like, the vibe I got with him with the cloak and stuff is that he's returning from something, right?
From what I've heard, like the first 2 episodes, and this is what I've heard. I don't like, again, this went along with the image. I'm not even sure now with the image in question. I don't know, but I've heard that like He-Man doesn't even show up for the first 2 episodes because it's Tila looking for the power sword. Like something happened. They lost the power sword, and they're going to do this 2-episode build up to when he finally has a power sword back.
Okay.
Which that could work, like in the She-Ra, the new She-Ra series, like she wasn't turning into She-Ra every freaking episode, because that's the thing with the old series. Like they were for selling toys, and every episode you had to get that one shot of him turning into He-Man and taking out the bad guys, right? Like, and they were all, the episodes were idempotent. Everything was the same at the beginning and the end every time,
right?
So that you could watch them out of order and you wouldn't lose anything. But now, this is going to be more adult, so they're going to have some long storylines.
Well, of course, again, the American cartoons in the 80s were designed to sell toys, not to tell a story.
Children, toys to children.
Yes.
I have a child now. You know what he's excited about? Stuff. You know what I like when I was a kid? Stuff
and things. Yeah,
that's what it is. Hey, He-Man is huge, and his action figure does this.
Yep.
So I want that. That's just, they were very easy. That was my generation. We were very easy. Fish in a bucket, man. Bought it all.
You are. Very
I also bought the fish in a bucket. That was a fun toy too.
And monkeys in a barrel.
Oh, I had those when I was 4. Yeah. Man, I actually, that's one of the first toys I remember like I have one of the few memories I have when I was like 4 or 5 is monkeys in a barrel.
So I also want to point out, and I've seen a couple people talking about these online. I mean, obviously I like my toys. They are obviously trying to cash in before the show starts. They've started re-releasing these Master of the Universe. I forget what they're calling them. They're like, they look like the old figures, but they're new figures. Like
they're action figures, not dolls.
Yeah,
like they have elbows now and knees, and they're more articulated.
They look like the old ones. They're in the spirit of the originals, but they're better designed and they're more appealing to a modern
collector
collector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. Do you think? I mean, since we're talking about cartoons or to sell toys, do you think they're going to come out with a new line of toys aligned with the cartoon?
Yes. Why wouldn't they? That's what Mattel literally does.
Yes. Yeah. And John, are you going to be in line to buy them?
No.
No.
I may wind up. We'll see what happens.
No,
not for me, but for the kid.
Do you have any idea how expensive anime figures are? Like,
no, I do not.
$100, $200.
Why?
Because you get the 12 inches. You get the, they're like fully articulate. You could see several different weapons. You can so. I don't buy a whole lot. I don't buy many at all, but every once in a while. But I'm not going to
spend that much on a figure yet.
Actually, I've only bought one that was over 100.
What are the ones that are they do Star Wars or Marvel and they're uber expensive? Oh, shoot! I know people that are listening to this show right now that are screaming at their devices.
Not the pop things, right?
No.
Those are collectibles.
They're highly detailed.
There's a couple of companies that do that.
Yeah, but there's like the one Hot Toys. Hot Toys. Yeah, and but they're like $150 to $200 a figure,
Yeah, but
you're gonna get an Iron Man that you can take
has iron in it.
No, like you can take the mask off. He's got a bunch of panels that open up and stuff. He lights up. He looks like Robert Downey Jr. like the whole nine. Yeah, so yeah. But one day I'll break down and buy one of those. I'm sure. Probably a Captain America or a Spider-Man. Anyway, yeah, and let's see if they do a He-Man figure. I'll probably buy it. Speaking of He-Man, you know who's really strong in the MCU, guys?
He-Man?
He-Man has fought in the Marvel universe. He has also fought Superman.
Mm-hmm.
The Hulk is really strong, and he has a cousin, Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk, and she has a series coming to Disney Plus.
I'm gonna stretch over here. Stretch.
And Jamil has been cast as Titania. Yeah, one of She-Hulk's villains in the show. So what do we think of this casting? Jamil, I know from The Good Place, and she hosts The Misery Index on TBS. So I don't know if this is a stretch for her as an actress. I don't know.
I want to see the tone of this show. Because She-Hulk is interesting. Are they going to go with because lately in the comics, they've kind of, I don't want to say gone back, but they've kind of steered away from the John Byrne / Dan Slott interpretation of the character, which is pretty much fourth wall comedy, similar to Harley Quinn. And they've given her a bulkier look and not made her totally serious, but definitely not in the same vein. So I'm curious as to what kind of She-Hulk we're going to get. I don't know.
Well, that's kind of why I brought up this article too, because it's she's a comedic actress.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know so a lot of time comedic actors and actresses play really good villains, but are they going for the comedic tone in this?
I think they should, right? I think that's the big difference between She-Hulk and Hulk is that She-Hulk is a funner, isn't a word, more fun character. I don't know. I'm curious. I want to see something, but I don't know what to think yet.
What do you think, John?
I don't know. Every one of these Marvel shows is striking a different and good tone. So the only one, we haven't had Guardians of the Galaxy is the one that does a lot of the humor. So it's probably time to have another one that's, more humorous. But they might have picked Jamil because, she's 5'10" and she's, I don't know, she's a comedic actress kind of, I mean, she was okay in the Good Place. I just don't know how that's going to fit with all of this, and what the tone of She-Hulk is going to be. But if they try to pull it with comedy or something like that, it'll probably work because it's Marvel, for crying out loud.
True.
I'm also kind of curious too, because think to Endgame and Mark Ruffalo's portrayal of Professor Hulk. There was more of a comedic edge to him in that movie. With the just the Taco Bell, him giving the tacos to, was it Ant-Man sitting on the bench when they show up in New York, and he's like, smash stuff, and he's like, oh,
yeah.
And then the scene in the diner, people asking for his autograph and stuff. And I mean,
that movie was 3 years ago. Jeez.
And there have been, I know, because last year doesn't count. We're not counting that. And they have been set photos leaked. Mark Ruffalo is in the show, and he's in a mocap suit with dots all over his face, so he'll probably still be Professor Hulk in the show. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Though, I am curious about another thing too.
Yes.
The story in the comics is she gets her powers because she needs a blood transfusion. And she gets a blood transfusion from her cousin. But at this point, he's Professor Hulk. So why would they get it? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would they go to the Hulk for a blood transfusion? Kind of curious.
Could have happened before that? I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, so I'm wondering how they're going to go with her, how she's going to get her powers in this. Like, I don't know. It seems like a cheesy way to do it. So, but again, if it's a cheesy show.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work. I'm very curious to see how, because the She-Hulk origin story, let's be honest, it's pretty stupid. So let's see kind of how they're able to tweak it,
Right.
That's the one thing also we can count on is Marvel will tweak the story to make it seem a little bit more interesting and, follow a little bit more logic. As much as you can follow logic for comic book shows, but it's probably gonna be good. But yeah, I can't. Let's wait and see. We say that every time, and every time we're like, yeah, this is great, because we're all with WandaVision, we're like, I don't know how this is gonna work. Oh my god, it works great.
Yeah, the track record speaks for itself. So, but I think it's fair to say, well, I want to see what the tone is before making a decision. I don't think that's ridiculous, right?
No, it's not. No, not at all. So.
Yeah. That's true. Speaking of Marvel's track records with TV shows, and we were speaking about Loki earlier, do you trust the God of Mischief?
Why would I? He is literally the God of Mischief.
So Tom Hiddleston has come out in an interview and said that Loki does not appear in Thor: Love and Thunder, which
I believe him.
On the surface makes sense because Loki died in Endgame, and then but he's also faked his death in every episode, in every show, but that's a whole nother story, every movie, I mean. And B, I think they were filming simultaneously. So it would have been hard to get Loki on the set, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Loki's kind of not outgrown the Thor franchise, but they're definitely playing with the Loki as its own franchise. So I think it's better for both characters to get them away from each other for a little bit.
Yeah, that's true too. And I don't want to see I didn't want to see another Thor Loki movie anyway. Like it just,
Yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the things that kind of bugged me in Ragnarok. Like the movie's funny and it's a different tone, but by the end of the movie, it's the same story arc with Loki again. Yeah.
But at least he's dead and they did something different, right?
Yes.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I got my.
No, that's the beginning of.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I got my stuff crossed. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think getting them away from each other is for the best.
Yeah. I know. You're gonna miss though them playing. What's the game? Get Help. Right, John? You like playing Get Help.
Okay, is this a transition?
When Chris Hemsworth picks you up and throws you.
Oh, right. Speaking of that, Aquaman.
Oh God! I was trying to get you. I didn't spend anything about Loki not being it. I was trying to get your opinion on it before we moved on.
No, I did. Yeah, That's fine. I mean, you gotta if you put him in there. What's the actress's? Oh my God, I'm blanking tonight. What's her name? Will have less room to breathe in her new role. So
Jane Foster.
yeah, yes. So like she'll have like you throw Hiddleston at too much is going on. Like that's what I'm like. We already know what happens in a superhero movie when you throw too many things in at the same time. So
we do
give the storyline time to breathe on its own without throwing the actual God of Mischief into the storyline.
I don't know. They threw a lot into Endgame.
And but worked. that was Endgame. I mean, that was the culmination of all this stuff, right? This is just a storyline. So a story.
Yeah, you're right. It's getting hard to watch a regular Marvel movie after all this.
I don't think you're wrong.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we would have thought it'd be hard to watch the TV series, and
but see the TV. That's okay. Tangent time. The TV series though is giving us like 6 to 8 hours of a story, so it's like watching multiple movies at once. Where to go back to a 2-hour cut and dry movie, it's going to be difficult.
We'll see. I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Well, yeah, we'll see soon. I mean, Black Widow's coming out next month. We'll be reviewing it for the show. So
I'll be going into the movie theater for that one.
JD looks undecided.
No, I'll go in the movie theater for that for sure. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
We live in the boondocks now, right? Both of us. So it's easier for the movie theaters in the boondocks. There's still only like 4 or 5 people there at the most.
Well, I have to drive into the suburbs. There is no theater by me, so I gotta travel.
See, I just go to the Amish down the street where they've got the sheet hanging in the back, and the bootleg.
They draw each frame really quick. It's amazing. These Amish are the most talented ever.
The Amish are incredible.
All right. Moving on, our last story crossed the aisle for some DC news. Very, very little DC news this week, but James Wan revealed the name of the Aquaman sequel, and it is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Any thoughts? I'm not. You two are bigger DC guys than I am. Does that mean anything to an Aquaman fan? Is there an actual storyline from the comics, or is this
could be where Mara's people are from?
Okay,
because she's not Atlantean. She's actually from a different dimension, which is why she has the hydrokinesis powers. So that's my thought, because Atlantis kind of is the Lost Kingdom of Atlantis.
That was my initial thought when I read it, but I'm like, no, that's too obvious. That's too silly. Like, that's not what they're doing.
No freaking clue.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's not enough information.
Yeah, I agree.
What kind of DC guy are you?
One that doesn't have enough information.
Accurate.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll have to wait for more, guys. We're going to have to wait for the trailer or a plot synopsis, or I guess if they release casting news of who plays the main villain, that might give something away too.
That might give something away. That could give us a hint for what's to come. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, that is all the news I had. But JD, you said you had a breaking news.
Well, this, I don't know about breaking news, but the producers of the Harley Quinn show today, did you guys see this on Twitter?
No.
Said that the only blowback they had from DC was they wanted to do a scene where people are laughing who know this already. Batman was with Catwoman and engaging in his cunning linguistics. And they were told, absolutely not.
And they said yes to everything else, but no to that.
Superheroes do not do that. And they said, well, so the response was the superheroes are selfish. And he said, no, superheroes have to sell toys to children, and we have to explain that. And I thought I kind of sided with DC on this one, but I found the situation humorous. Because looking back when Kevin Smith made Batman pee his pants, DC, they had quite a few fires to put out over that. And I think the show would definitely fly in slightly higher over the radar. So what do you guys think of?
Don't forget Bat Dick.
And the Bat Dick thing. Remember, Bat Dick was a lot of issues too. So I think having gone through Pee Pants Batman and Batwang, that they were kind of like, no.
Well, I think it's because those were just images, and this is like the actual act, probably. So I mean that show is, my God, that show is raunchy as it is.
I've never watched it, but I'll be honest with you, that whole thing made me want to at least check it out to see what they're doing.
Oh my God.
I think
I have trouble watching that.
That's interesting.
The image in your head.
No. Okay, the image. All right. So what's the storyline? Demon.
What are you talking about? Like, give a hint. Sounds
like they've had sex in the comics.
Oh yeah, lots. Batman and Catwoman. Yeah, they were going to get married. Like the Tom King run was them as a couple.
Right. I mean, but that's where Damian comes from. Like it's not. And that's Talia.
Well, he was drugged, right? Like he was forced to do that.
But
right?
that's in the Son of the Demon or whatever.
Son of the Demon. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's Talia.
Yeah, that's Talia. And lest we forget the Killing Joke cartoon adaptation.
Oh God, that's right. That too.
Most
right
people
there.
like to forget that.
Yes. So I find it interesting, and I haven't watched the cartoon. But my understanding is that it is geared towards a more adult audience.
Yes, the Harley Quinn one. Yes, definitely.
So
more adult? No, total adult. Trust me.
So I don't know where I stand, because it's like,
no,
they've already done it. So why did they stop it this time?
Well, because I think you fly well.
Because it's cartoon and it's There's
one is them together embracing the throes of passion. The other is, for lack of a term, a tad more guttural.
Yeah.
Especially if they're verbalizing. And I imagine it would just been a joke rather than seeing, I don't know, maybe it would have been seeing Batman. But I mean, like, I don't know. I get where you're coming from, but I think it's presentation. And I think raunchy humor is a harder sell.
Yeah.
Than, embracing. I don't know. Because really all you see in the Batman cartoon shows. Because you don't see them getting a bat game on,
The bat game. But the fist
my day's been made. All right. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I actually, it's funny. Like, I get DC's point.
I do too. Like, I get it. Like,
I would have to have seen, like,
I'm morbidly curious. Don't get me wrong. I would love to. I mean, like,
I was gonna say, like, can I show me the script, what they had written out for it, and how they described it, and then maybe I can make a decision on that.
I'm curious. Like, I'm very curious to see what they would have done. Like, joke wise, I'm sure it'd have been funny, but I get where they're coming from, because you got to be a little more protective of Batman than you are of Kite Man.
Yeah. Or the Condiment King,
or the Condiment, or the Condiment King. Like, Superman and Batman and Green and like Wonder Woman should be treated with more reverence, because those characters have to sell toys. They do. That's fun. That, as a dad now, I feel a little differently about it than I would have felt a while ago. Because like you have to explain those things, not to kids, but to stupid people on the internet who have to make big deals out of everything.
Well, that's true too.
It's easier just to avoid that argument with Batman, because no one cares if Catman does it,
Yes, that is true. Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I thought. So that came up today, and I was like, I wonder what the guys are going to think about this.
Yeah. Well, I think John wanted to see it, so.
Okay. No.
Oh yeah, Mr. I've got all the Marvel swimsuit issues downstairs.
Yeah, that was me when I was like in my 20s. I think I've matured a bit since then. Plus, I've got all the hentai I could ever want. So
I wasn't gonna say it. I'm glad you said it. I wasn't gonna say it, but I'm glad someone.
So if Batman had a tentacle, all right.
Oh.
Isn't that what hentai is? All right. On that note, boys and girls, as you try to wash that image out of your head, we're going to take our last commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Bat tentacles.
If you're looking for adventure this summer, escape with Marvel Comics. Fight crime with Spider-Man. Meet the Fantastic Four and watch Captain America in action. May the Force be with you as you battle the evil empire in Star Wars. Discover the secrets of the South American jungle in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And with Marvel Comics, you're never alone because they can go with you in the car or to the park, even on a rainy day. Marvel Comics are your ticket to fun and adventure this summer.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I am so done with that. Let's go on.
All right.
Episode
All right.
title.
So, we were talking about the Dresden Files not too long ago on this show, and JD mentioned a couple times that he had never read them. So we put out the challenge to read the first book of the series, and then we would come and discuss it.
And I just want to show you one thing. For those that are watching or for listening, I'm showing my shirt, but it's a shirt. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
This makes for great podcast material.
Yes, I know, right? It's Harry Dresden and his friend Butters riding on an undead dinosaur.
And what's the name of the dinosaur?
I think it was Sue. It was actual Sue.
And Sue is an actual.
Sue is we'll talk about this. Sue is a dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus Rex, that is in the Field Museum in Chicago.
Right.
And there's apparently a story behind Sue in real life.
Yeah. But the caption
story.
The caption is Polka will never die.
Yes.
And Butters is playing polka in order to keep the heart beating of this zombie dinosaur.
Yes.
This is what you have to look forward to.
Spoiler alert, that's not till book 7. All right. So
something like that. Like these books are just amazing. Okay.
All right. So let's start with JD since he never read them before. Before we get too deep into it, just real quick initial thought on the book, and try not to say any spoilers just yet.
I had a hard time starting this, like literally getting started reading it. I bought the Kindle book and my time was running out and I had a big work weekend. So I said, just get the Audible. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I already spent the money. And then I found out that Audible cuts you a break if you already own the Kindle version. So I went, I've got the Audible book, and I listened to it in 2 days.
So you called an Audible.
I called an Audible with Audible. And didn't have to get a membership because on Audible, I'm a writer, right? This is what I do. Audible is a freaking ripoff. If you belong to the service, it's $15 a month, and you still have to buy books.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is like there is no perks of Audible. Audible is a terrible subscription service.
This is why I read all my books. And I enjoy reading.
I do too. I don't love audiobooks,
yeah,
but I appreciate them on a different level. And I wanted to sit down and read this, but I just had a crap ton of work this week, and it didn't balance out. But because I shot a wedding and then I had to coach, so I spent like about a good 10 hours in the car over the weekend. So I had time, and I had this 8-hour book, and it was an enjoyable experience. James Marsters, the old Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, fantastic narrator. I really liked it. I really liked this. It was really fun. The DNA for urban fantasy is all over the place in this. Like, this is literally, because I've had people tell me, your books are kind of like this. And I'm like, maybe. I mean, I've never read them, so I can't say it. But I was kind of like, okay. And I can see some comparisons go, because I think Jim Butcher really creates the idea of like, because it plays off more like noir mixed with fantasy elements. Which is,
yep.
I think this came out in like 2000.
Yep.
So it's very, very, definitely 2000. There's talk about going into O'Hare Airport and waiting in the airport. I'm like, you can't do that anymore, and haven't for quite some time. So entertaining. I really, really liked it. I'm looking forward to picking up Foul Moon.
Cool. John, when was the last time you read it, and how'd you feel rereading it?
I've every once in a while I go and reread the entire series, and like, especially when he's about to come, if I haven't read the series in like 4 or 5 years and he comes out with a new book, I go ahead and reread the entire series, because it's just fun to remind yourself, because there's so much going on. And I'll tell you right now, JD, the first book is the most vanilla of all of them.
Good, because I think there was stuff that could have been bad. I liked it, but there's parts where I'd lose attention here and there.
Yeah,
and it felt very vignette-y to me. It felt like a lot of world building. Like I felt like the murder was very much a right, like like it feels like because there's vast swaths of the book where they don't really deal with the investigation of the murder, right? Like where him and Bob are building the potions and there's big chunks like that are very vignette-y,
right?
More so than just like focusing on solving the murder, which is fine. I don't mind that. But that's kind of how it played out to me.
And this is it's perfectly fine. And this is one of his first books, but like I think after he wrote this one is when he actually decided to get serious. And the second book in the series is where everything gets set up. We've talked about this before. It's literally an armory full of Chekhov's guns, and you also get introduced to a lot more interesting characters that are going to play heavily into the story going forward.
Let's not get bogged down in the second book. We're talking about Stormfront.
Right. But yeah, you're right in saying that there were parts of this that seemed to drag on a little bit, and parts were like, let's make potions. Okay, so why? It's like,
yeah, I get it. It's world building. It's established. The first part of the series, a lot of what you do too is you establish the world. You talk about the rules of the world, and part of that is explaining things, even if it's not terribly pertinent to the plot.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff in this that isn't terribly pertinent to what is going on. And it's a pretty obvious who the killer is once you've listened to the first 3, 4 chapters, and you're like, oh, okay, this guy's definitely the killer, and then you're right. But that's okay. Most noir is like that, and I enjoy it though.
And I'll say in the later books, it gets really hard to figure out who's doing what.
That's fine. That's good. I like that.
But yeah, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. It's just, yeah, it was still like, I read a lot of fantasy before this, like Robert Aspirin, Roger Zelazny, Heinlein, like you name it, Asimov, or there's science fiction too. But this was like the first time I got urban fantasy, and right after this book came out, that's when self-publishing started, and you started to get this explosion of urban fantasy.
Oh, dude, on my Facebook page, all I see are advertisements for knockoffs. I see so many Dresden Files knockoff series.
Yeah, well, they're all compared to, even now they're still compared to, you'll see like this book, if you always wanted Harry Dresden mixed with, it's like that. There's
I'm gonna start doing that. Like I know, right? I get it.
But I've read hundreds of books, and there are some really, really good authors out there. Alona Andrews, which is actually not an author, but a husband-wife team. I'll have to come up with the names of the others. I'll have to look at my Goodreads. But yeah, this is the first one where it was just so cool to see set in like today's world, and you're like, oh crap, it gave it this little extra oomph, like more interesting, because oh wow, what would happen if, right?
Yeah, he creates the urban, it's the perfect name. He creates the urban fantasy genre, which is really cool. Yeah.
Now there is a few things in here, like the fact that magic doesn't mix very well with technology.
Yeah, I like that.
In 2000, I don't know if Jim Butcher or very many people understood just how intrinsic technology is to our lives now, and it makes I'm not sure if he planned this out, but it kind of starts off and continues on with this entire world being really separate from like everybody else's everyday world. Like you never hear anything about the politics are going on or the religions or anything like that. It's kept very, very separate. Even the technology. And this is one thing I think Butcher does really well that most writers don't even realize, or writers and readers don't realize he's doing. He's very vague about certain things so that the book becomes almost timeless, like the technology and the phones that they use and all that stuff. Like as the series goes on, and even starting in here, you don't really talk about the type of cell phones and stuff. He alludes to some of that stuff, but he never really pins it down to a time.
No, and I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I did feel like this story was very 2000, right? Just in the way they are referencing things like publishing, referencing how there's not a lot of talk about computers, not like this, they're talking about answering machines. And like, So I did, and like I said before about the thing about going to the airport, is there still things about this that do feel very late 90s, early 2000s, which is fine. That's when it was written. Like I don't mind my books and stories feeling a bit dated in that way because art should be a reflection of the era which it was created.
Yep.
One thing that I felt phony to me about this series was the fact that it took place in Chicago. And then when they said Chicago, I got excited. I'm like, all right, Chicago. I can tell Jim Butcher doesn't spend a lot of time in Chicago because he refers to it as Midtown Chicago. There's no such thing as Midtown Chicago, right? Like, that's not a place. And he doesn't talk about Chicago. He doesn't talk about the neighborhoods or where you would live or why something would be here or there. And like talking about like going to Michigan at the end, I'm like, that's a long drive. Like you wouldn't need to do that. There's beach houses like just across in southern Indiana. Like just knowing the city, because I do that a lot in my writing when I'm talking about Chicago, is like really getting into like a character like Harry Dresden would probably live in the Ukrainian village, and there's reasons for that because he's that type of a guy. But we didn't delve into that kind of stuff. So I felt like he put it in Chicago because Chicago sounds like a cool place to put this. And it's also, not as like
well, it's also a nexus of like
I'll take your word. That's not a thing. That's not yeah, that's fine. And I get that. But at the same time, I don't feel like it was really in Chicago. Like there was no touch, there was no like touchstones that, because a good part of like fantasy is when you can ground stuff in reality to make it feel more real. And it wasn't, I could tell that he wasn't spending time in Chicago to create these places. That's one of my only criticisms of the book, and I really liked it otherwise.
He gets better with that, but the thing, but you know, this, I guess, and as a writer, you can say like this is like you write what you know. They say
absolutely, yeah.
But like, what am I what if I were to finish my book? Am I going to just stay right like three houses down from where I live? Like you want to set books in different places.
Absolutely.
You know, and back in 2000, you didn't have like nowadays, if you want to know what if you want to base something in Chicago, you go to Google Maps and spend some time going around the city.
And I've done that. Like I've literally done that. When I'm writing about a story, something that takes place somewhere else, I've done that. You go to Google Maps,
and Google Earth, and
Earth, and you talk about walking down the streets and what the buildings.
And you can walk down the street and go
exactly. So you can you can cheat that I've been there thing,
right? And
like that's the thing, and that's a technological thing of the era where that's much harder to do in 2000, of course. Yeah. But like I said, for me, like as someone who, you know, Chicago's very near and dear to my heart. So for me, that was one of those things that it didn't take me out of it, but I kind of went, oh, you're really not a Chicago guy, because he's talking about streets that aren't really like that. But again, it's at the same time, it's not really Chicago. It's a fantasy Chicago, so I can accept that.
It's like the Shazam movie took place in Philadelphia, but like it didn't really feel like Philadelphia.
And and that's something you know by being a resident of the city, right? You can tell, you can feel, you can almost like smell stuff like that. So I appreciate when creators, artists, you know, whatever, go that extra mile to make it feel more lived in.
Yeah.
Right. Or make it feel more realistic. And again, that's a J.D. Oliva being nitpicky about something that's important to him. Did it really matter that much in the context of this particular book? No, not really. It's just, you know, me being, you know, picky.
Again, and I can't stress this enough, the books from here only go up, and
I believe
far up.
It's his first book, and you can see the talent. Like the talent. I love how he describes things. I love how he described the belly of a storm, and I kind of come like that's really good writing, and it's witty, and it's like there's like a whimsy to it that I really enjoy, like a really snappy prose that it's fun. It's a fun book. I told my wife, I said, you should give this a read sometime because I think you might like it.
And that's the thing, that there are a lot. I've read, like I said, I've read a lot of books, and there is some really, really that like it's the blessing and the curse of the age of self-publication. You get a lot of good authors that never would have got published, but their books are awesome. And then you get a lot of bad ones. And I've read some of the bad ones where you're trying to get your way through a conversation and you can't do it because it's so stilted and fake and, you know, and you know, just not the way people would actually talk to each other.
You're talking about my world. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but Jim, he always, you know, all of his books, the dialogue always just seems to just flow. Like it's so good that it doesn't stick in your mind. You're just reading the book. You don't ever sit there and realize and suddenly say to yourself, that didn't sound right. You know,
there's some writers that are very good at writing fluid conversations. Stephen King is a great example of a writer who does really good fluid conversations because he's able to like bring real life to his characters. When you have real life to your characters, it's easy to write conversations. A lot of writers really struggle with writing dialogue, and I've heard writers on podcasts and interviews talk about they're struggling there. And I didn't feel that at all. Like I really felt like all his characters have their own voice and have their own ideas, and that when you have that, when your characters have your own voice and their own agendas and their own mechanisms, like the conversations really flow. And because this is done first person, you really get to dig into Harry's head, and I really like that because you don't. Now that's become a lot more popular, especially in the fantasy genre, because again, this guy is really setting the precedent for what this urban fantasy genre is, and because like adapts like the Philip Marlowe type of archetype of like the private eye telling the story, right? Like it's like Maltese Falcon, like they're telling you it, but that's not done. That wasn't in 2000. That wasn't done a lot. So he's bringing something in from a different genre. He's bringing that hard-boiled detective, that hard-boiled noir thing into the fantasy world and bringing that first-person narrative with it that sets a tone for, like, even in book descriptions they talk about, if you're doing fantasy, you should have, first-person book descriptions. And again, that's all Jim Butcher's DNA, which is so cool.
I'll bet one of his inspirations was Kolchak.
Kolchak Nightstalker? Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's exactly the character, basically, except
that's totally the character. It's in the same town too, Chicago. Like Kolchak is just because that's one of my inspirations too. Is he's just a reporter, but he's dealing with this supernatural stuff. Like this show was such a abysmal failure, but it became such a touchstone for so many people creating genre work for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And anybody who's listening to this, Kolchak the Night Stalker, I think it was 1970s.
1974.
Yeah. And man, it's like, it's a cult classic. And it was just about this reporter who just, his eyes were open, he'd go into things and he saw the other side, the creatures and the mystical stuff that was happening that most people just ignored.
Very much Monster of the Week, but it's like Chris Carter calls it the inspiration for the X-Files. Check the Night Stalker, and it's very obvious too when you watch it. It's essentially Columbo, but the villain is a vampire.
Yeah, or a werewolf, or
a werewolf, or whatever. Yeah. Which is again, I'm ripping it off too, 50 years later. So. It's fun. I mean, like, and there's definitely a lot of Kolchak in Harry Dresden. So it's cool stuff, man.
Sorry, Dave, did you want to say something?
I can see Dave getting frustrated, and John and I are just ping ponging back and forth.
I was going to say I think
it's one of my favorite books. I'm sorry.
20 minutes. I don't think I've talked.
Hey, I have 20 minutes of the show. I didn't talk either.
Turnabout's fair play. No, and it's funny because I haven't read any of the books in a while. And part of the interest in doing this again too is I do want to reread all of them because I want to read the 2 new ones that just came out. And
I say we go through them all.
I'm game. I'll keep reading this.
And what was I going to say? But I forgot how much actually, like, because you're talking about world building, how much he sets up in this first book that becomes so important later down in the series. Like there's no throwaway characters in this book. Every character becomes important at some point, and it's just, and like you're thinking about, I know what happens to this guy, I remember what happens with them, as you're reading it. It's kind of hard to separate it, but it's just like it gives you a different perspective when you're reading it, like, okay. But you're right, it's just so good. And like you said, that noir, which is funny because if you read any of his other books, like the Codex Alera series, like they're not noir books. They actually kind of feel like Game of Thrones, where they different chapters jump around to different perspectives of different characters.
Shared universe?
No.
Okay.
The Codex Alera was
total own thing. Yeah.
Okay.
It was written by him when on a dare.
Yes.
Or it was a bet. They bet he couldn't. What was it? The 13th Legion.
You couldn't combine.
So,
he said I could write a book about anything, and he said come up with the 2 worst things to combine into a story.
Yeah, the Lost Roman Legion.
The Lost Roman
Magic
Legion
or something.
and Pokemon.
Or Pokemon, that's right. Yeah.
Yes. And
and he did it. And it was brilliant. Five book series, and it was just absolutely
and it's
brilliant.
yes. And if that intrigues you, then go check it out. Yes, it's very different.
So I just want to mention one other thing. There was a short-lived TV series on Sci-Fi Channel.
I remember that, the Dresden Files. I remember that, and I never watched it. I don't know, Sci-Fi. I should love the Sci-Fi Channel, but I haven't loved most of what's been on the Sci-Fi Channel through its existence.
But I'm just saying that that was a little bit, the characterizations and stuff were different there, and the books are leagues better, and the universe is better.
I'll also say this: there are graphic novel adaptations of the books, but I think they only got through like the first 3 books before they stopped making them, and it was like the one publisher did like the first book, and then like a different publisher did the next 2 books, and then I don't know what happened.
That might have been when he started to go through his divorce, and he was having health problems too.
Yeah, so like something happened with the rights, and they kind of like, I mean, and of course, JD, as well as anyone, it's a lot harder to produce a comic book than it is to just produce a novel, and I'm sure like it got frustrating, and he just kind of gave up on that. But I do have Stormfront. I know I have. And I'm pretty sure I have the second one as well.
That was in an era too when they were doing a lot of adaptation comics. Marvel was picking up, like they were doing like Dark Tower books, and there was something else too. I forget. Oh, Game of Thrones books. They never stayed. Like the Game of Thrones, I don't think goes beyond the first book. I don't think they ever went up beyond the first book of the first 2 books of Dark Tower. Like it just doesn't work really. Like when you're transferring, like when you're translating novel into comics, there's something that it worked good the other way, but not. It's hard. It's really tricky.
The funny thing about the Dresden File TV show, I've always said, because I actually ended up buying the show on DVD because I was such a big fan of the books. I wanted to like watch the show because it was only one season. But you can sum it up easily if you watch. There's 2 interviews with Jim Butcher. One is him with like someone from the show doing an interview before the show went on air, and him talking about how great it is, and you're like, there's some changes, but they're changes for the better, and blah blah. And then an interview with him after the show was canceled and he got all the rights back, talking about what a mistake it was.
Right, he found out what it's like to try, what the meat grinder in Hollywood is like, basically.
But yeah, like he said, it was such a mistake. He shouldn't have listened to them. If they had just followed the books, it would have been a much better series. Because it's like it starts off with that. Oh, we're just gonna make this one change because it's more visually appealing, or like
that Bob the Skull was an actual ghost, and
that Bob the Skull was a ghost, not just a skull. The Blue Beetle, obviously his car, right? Which is a character in the book, and it is a very important character throughout the series. They made it a Jeep. Oh, because it was easier to film in a Jeep than it would be in a Volkswagen Beetle.
Well, also because Paul Blackstone couldn't, Harry Dresden is really tall, but in real life, like Paul Blackstone couldn't even fit his legs in there. That was one of the other reasons.
And that was the other thing was, instead of, he wears a duster. Instead of the duster, he just had a leather jacket.
That was egregious. That was wrong. And he used a hockey stick.
And then a hockey stick instead of a staff. And it was like, that one made no sense.
Right.
But they just thought it was apparently the people who made the show thought that was a better quirk than...
See, this is kind of what happens in Hollywood is they get a guy and they bring in his material because they think that it'll make money, but then they got to tell you everything that's wrong with the material. And then you're sitting there surrounded by people who know and they make sure that they make sure that you know that they know more than you, because you're lucky to be in there with them to begin with. So they tell you we need to make this, and this change, and you're like, okay, you guys know what? And you're seeing the check that comes in, and you're like, okay, maybe they know what they're talking about this, and you get kind of swept up in the experience of filmmaking, because filmmaking is beautiful and fun, and it's all this money, and you feel good about it until you actually start watching the product, and then you watch it slide, and you know why it's wrong, but you can't say anything about it because someone bought your rights. So you got to sit there and take it, and you also have a non-disparagement clause in your contract.
So you have to go on and hype it because...
So you're not... Well, also, too, it's good for you because if it works, you're going to make more money. So why would you bury it unless you're Alan Moore? In which case, then nothing matters. But then at the end, it's a fuck up, and you know why it fucked up, and you're like, well, shit. Okay, yeah, I know it was bad, but what was I going to say? So I get that. I understand 100%. Because everyone, that's why that's why you have to have the, I know Warren Ellis is persona non grata these days, but his approach to adaptations is the best. He's like, you know what, my books are my books, and I like money. So you have to just sit there and divorce yourself of it, because you have no control over what someone does once they buy your rights, but your books are your books.
How many properties have we seen where it's like, it's got a huge fan base and everything, and they go to make a movie about it, and they change literally everything the fan base grew up around, and it's like, how do they? You just always wonder how much cocaine these guys are snorting to think that that's ever going to work.
Lots of cocaine. But I mean, like, that's too, like, not everything is Game of Thrones, which actually helped grow the fan base and was a gigantic success, where the creator is actually part of the writing team, and they're like, hey, you guide the show. That's a rarity.
Yeah. Well, until they got to the point where he ran out of material.
He don't care anymore.
So back to Stormfront. So it's a noir, as we said. Harry Dresden is the only working wizard. Is that the right term?
The only publicly working wizard.
Working wizard in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. In anywhere, really.
Yes, and so I'm kind of curious, because I mean, John and I read the book, so it's kind of hard to say. Remember when we originally read it, did we have these feelings?
Oh, I did.
It starts off with him getting basically two different cases, one given to him from the police and one's privately given case. Did you, as a mystery fan, as a urban fantasy fan, as a writer, and knowing how books normally go too, I guess that's the other thing, did you have a feeling like, oh, these are going to be connected by the time we get to the end?
Absolutely. The second they introduced it, the second he gets the second phone call, oh, these are going to be intertwined, because that's how you tell a story. Like, so yeah, no, there was no surprise whatsoever that they were linked to me.
Yeah. So I mean, two seemingly unconnected cases are connected.
But and what's good is that's a trope of mystery storytelling, and you steer. The best writers know when to steer into tropes and when to steer away from tropes, right? Because you want to embrace the good tropes, but you want to know when to leave ones behind or when to subvert a trope to get people surprised. Like, you have to. It's a tight walk. It's a tight wire rope you have to walk, right? So yeah, of course they're going to be related. How could they not be related?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of a little bit of a loss until what's the second girl who's killed? Character's name, was
that Jennifer or was that Linda? Yes.
I
always get confused.
When he goes to Linda's apartment and finds the second film canister.
Mm-hmm. Another way it dates the story, by the way. They're talking about film canisters. Like, to my fellow millennials out there, or no, millennials might know, to my Zoomers, film people used to develop film. You just didn't have your picture automatically on your phone.
Yeah, there's only so much of that kind of thing that you can steer away from. Like, you're always going to get anachronisms.
Yeah, that's fine. And I think that's fine. that doesn't bother me. I like it.
But he does get a lot better at hiding that side of things. But maybe that's because, like, it is urban fantasy, and it does happen technically in our world, but it does get a lot more into how separate the world he walks in with the world that people on the street are in.
Right. I mean,
and that's one of the, sorry, Dave, just one thing. This is one of the conceits of urban fantasy, is that with all our technology and all this, and like a camera everywhere in like most major cities, there's a camera literally pointed at every single inch of them, that we don't see the vampires and werewolves and and the mystical stuff going on. And a lot of them come up with reasons, but
that's, I mean, it's funny because he alludes to it in this book, but it definitely becomes a trope of the series, is the reason people don't see the vampires and the fairies and all the things that are in this book is because people don't want to see them. They explain it away in some other way, and like,
because there's treaties, like there's treaties between the major powers, because because one human seeing them is not a problem, but a million humans seeing them is a problem because there's too many humans and they have really bad weapons. And also because when really powerful magical creatures are near technology,
see, you're getting into fine details that are explained in the book. I'm talking about the base idea that, and it's something that Harry Dresden says throughout the series is like, the reason people don't see these creatures is because they don't want to see them, and it makes it's like a good trope. I think it makes sense. Like people explain away things they don't want to see.
Well, because the best writing is metaphorical, right? It's just the same problems we've been reading about. There's rapists and murderers and human traffickers and pieces of shit that walk around in front of us every day that we choose to turn a blind eye to because it's more convenient. And that's what the best fiction does, is it puts a supernatural stamp on a real problem.
Yes.
Yeah, but these days nobody would believe that stuff, right?
Q is watching.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you say it's a conceit of the book that people wouldn't believe their own eyes, and then you get into like recent history.
Sometimes they say the cliche goes, truth is stranger than fiction. And it is, because fiction has to make sense, right? Like you said before, like, did you think those two stories were going to be linked together? Yeah, of course, because that's the rules of fiction. They have to be linked together. In reality, those things don't have to make any sense. Reality makes no sense. Well, people say that's not realistic, and I'm like, what is realism? Realism doesn't make any sense. Like, I sound like Pablo Picasso, but I mean, what happens in real life is completely illogical.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Your truth is stranger than fiction.
It is. That's literally that's the cliche. And it's the truth. Fiction has rules it has to live by. Reality has no rules. I should write that sometime. That's a good line. Anyways, yeah, I like this book a lot, man. It was a lot of fun. And you guys say, here's what's impressive. That's his first book.
Yeah.
This is the first thing he ever wrote. Like, the talent is just unbelievable, and it just pours off the page.
And just again, to expand on everything here, like, I would like to do the second book if you guys don't mind, if you're onto that. But anybody who's picking this up because we're recommending it, keep in mind that this is an entire universe that Jim Butcher has literally living in his head. There's not just the main books. He's got short story anthologies,
ghost stories,
and yeah, but there's
a collection of isn't it called Ghost Stories? It's a collection of short stories all about the Dresden Files.
But he's done short stories that were submitted to other projects too, stuff like that were edited by Faith Hunter and a few other like writers. Like I don't know if they'll ever. I don't know how, like, I think Goodreads is the only way that you can actually figure out what order to read everything in and find out what everything is. But there are short stories all over the place that are peppered all over the timeline, and stuff like him meeting Bigfoot, and just like, you need to, like, it's really fun sometimes to read the short stories and see what's going on between the books.
Side Jobs and Briefcases are the ones that he put out. They're collections of short stories that take place in the world,
right?
And then there's Wizards for Hire, Wizards by Trade, Wizards at Large, and Wizards Under Fire, all different collection that some of those stories are in. This is all available on Wikipedia.
And there were a couple of anthologies that were edited by P.N. Elrod, who also had her own series called The Vampire Files. But some of the short stories series that she edited, I'm pretty sure there too.
I'm pretty sure from my understanding, when Side Jobs came out, I haven't read Briefcases. When Side Jobs came out, that was at that point, he was able to collect all the short stories.
It's not. There are a lot of others. There's even one short story that happens before the first book.
Yes, that's
where he meets Karen for the first time.
That is in Side Jobs.
Is it in Side Jobs?
Yes.
Okay.
I have Side Jobs. I've read it a couple times.
I know there's more that he hasn't, but
so well, we're going off on tangents.
Total tangents. I have no idea. I've read one book, so.
Well, I mean,
but I'm a King fan. I know what you guys are talking about, so I get it.
I mean, there's just alone there's 17 books in the series, published to date, and there's more coming out. So it's like there's a lot to read if you're going to get into this.
But that's good. I mean, one of the hardest things to find is something that will entertain you for a long time. I find it always sad to finish a book and realize that that's the end of the story if it's a really good one. In this one, you read the first book, you really like it. There's 16 more books that are only getting better, and he's still not done yet. And by his own words, the last 3 books, which might be 21, 22, and 23 at this point, or 20 through 23,
something like that.
They're going to be a 3-book Armageddon.
Yeah, you've said that before, and that should be, in my opinion, every writer's goal is to sit there and and create their own universe. Like, hey, I'm doing it right now. Like, all my stuff takes place in the same world and is interconnected in some way, shape, or form. So I mean, like, it's fun. Like I said, I'm a big King fan. Like, you know, for me, all things serve the theme. Everything is about the tower. So I get it. I like seeing this, and I definitely want to dig further and read more, because I do. I like the writing style. I want to see how he grows as a writer over the next couple decades worth of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So
I mean, it's good for short term. Yes, it's a good book. Read the book.
Yes. Pardon me. And then he sets up a lot of, like we said, it's a lot of world building, but he also kind of like sets up, in a way, like rules of magic.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, you got to have a magic system,
which I find interesting, right? Because like you have to create rules for something, and then you have to stick to those rules.
Yeah, that's tough as a writer, and this is why characters like Doctor Strange have a hard time in comics, right? It's because what are the rules of magic? And like it's hard to make something like that stick in like a shared comics universe where people are going to be coming from different ideas, different perspectives. Maybe they didn't read everything, so you have these inconsistencies of draw. When you're one guy, like I'm not a magic guy in that I know about, you know, spells and whatnot, but I like that he was grounding it in some reality where he's like describing it like love potions have to be made like this, escape potions have to be made like that. This is why. This is how you bind a fairy into a circle and make them do what you want. You know, I'm like, okay, you're telling me I like this. You're explaining to me why.
Show don't tell, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're telling me that you're doing this stuff, and it's a little expository at points, but he pulls it off because there's character in what he's saying.
Well, and he's also telling you while he's doing it.
While he's doing it,
because he's doing it for a reason.
Right. That's what's important.
I mean, and he definitely researched. Like he borrowed things.
Oh yeah, for sure.
From other places, he's borrowed things from actual like New Age belief systems and stuff. You could definitely see that. And one of the things that I love too in the book is like, so Toot, who's a fairy in the book, it becomes a very he ends up becoming a very important character later on.
Toot,
which is just Toot is what everyone calls him. It's what he calls himself, but it's not his actual name. And he goes into this whole thing about knowing his actual name, you can call him, and like he's telling you the whole spell about how he calls him, but then it's like, oh, but like I'm not going to tell you his name here.
Yeah, I like that.
You know, because he's like yes, I'm talking to the audience. I'm writing this as a noir, and like yes, I'm going to like leave the stuff out so you don't hurt yourself. Basically,
I like that. It's very conversational. It's like he's telling you, the reader, the story. He's not just It's not just like. It's like a lot of times the first person narrative, it's literally their thoughts. It's like the thought bubble is narrating everything. But this isn't quite like that. It's literally like a one-way conversation with the reader where there's a lot of, which I like magic too, real magic, sleight of hand, right? There's a lot of that going on too, where I'm going to show you this, but not everything. So I mean, there's like, even in the name, like Harry Blackstone, Copperfield, Dresden, right? Because there's links to magicians, not wizards. So there's a little bit of the con game going on.
His father was a magician. That's one of the things.
I didn't know that. I like that. I don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's in the book. He mentions it.
And did he mention his father was a magician?
His father was a stage musician. He was never home because he was always on the road performing, and that's why he gave him those names.
I forgot that part.
Yeah, which I will say, it's one of the only things I felt was missing from his character.
What's that?
Is that he should have also known sleight of hand.
Well, his father died when he was young, so
right, but it would have been like that would have been it's
a nice character beat to not to use. because like sometimes magic, because even in magic stories, magic becomes a crutch, right? I'll just use magic as. It's nice if you can put a spin on it where you don't have to use actual magic, you can use sleight of hand magic, because then you're outwitting your opponent at the same time. Dave, that's a smart call. I like that. I agree with you.
Because like that would have been like, so there's the scene near the end of the book where he gets handcuffed to Murphy, the police officer, and she's poisoned and they're trying to escape, and like, because he even says that, he's like, oh, I wish I had known sleight of hand so I could get out of these cuffs, you know. And it's like, yeah, that would have been a real cool thing, because then like he could do something like that and just go, it's magic, you know.
Yeah.
So you don't know if he's just doing sleight of hand or if he's doing actual magic, and that would have been a cool. Maybe I'm gonna write my own character.
You should. What the hell? Why not? You just created something. Because again, and what I like about this character could easily have been John Constantine, but he isn't. Right? He isn't John Constantine. He kind of feel like it's easy to sit there and say, oh, hey, he's just a Constantine. Because there's street wizards, there's some similarities, but the characters are so completely tonally and like, you know, personality wise different.
Yeah.
That's what it works. That's character build. You know, that's how you create a character.
So I have a question for you. It's a question I like to ask people who read these books, and it might be hard to picture it based on just reading the first. But if you were going to do a Dresden Files movie or limited series, who do you picture playing the lead role?
At the moment, no one else but James Marsters, because that's who told me the story. And that's who I'm seeing in my head when they're saying the words. So that is unfortunately the only image I have at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason I've always pictured, I mean, it's too late now, but I've always pictured Hugh Jackman.
What?
Yeah.
That's
tall,
why
gangly, dark hair. Like, yeah, I think that.
This is why casting is hard.
Yes.
Yeah. One go, this is what I say. What? No way. Like, yeah, this is why this is a hard thing.
Huge Jackman, gangly.
Yeah. Well, he is naturally gangly. He chemically chemically not often, but we haven't seen what he looks like lately. He could be gangly again.
Look at Hugh Jackman from the first X-Men movie to now. He wasn't that built in that movie because it wasn't a thing then. So, you know, he put that muscle on as he played the character, not right away. So, yeah. You know, and I think of Hugh Jackman as in what's that musical that he's not Les Miserables, the other one.
Yeah, never once.
The Greatest Show on Earth.
Greatest Show on Earth. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or The Showman, whatever.
Showman, that's what it was. Yeah.
So yeah, see, that is Harry Dresden.
Well, I think we've done this enough. We're gonna do the next book in like 2 weeks.
One last thing I want to point out. If you look at this, is one of my favorite things. Talk about character building. One of my favorite things. Every cover of the Dresden Files shows Harry wearing a hat.
Oh, right.
But in
a fedora.
In the book, they never talk about him wearing a hat.
That's true. And I did notice that. I'm like, because I did notice that. Yes.
And I don't remember which book. It's definitely one of the later books, maybe book 12 or 13. And basically something happens and he's in like this magical armor and he has a helmet and he like takes the helmet off and he's sitting somewhere and he has it on his lap and he's like, I don't like hats.
Yeah, but he wrote that because everybody was asking where the hat was. Why?
Exactly.
For a decade, they were asking where that. Oh, 2 decades.
That's like one of the best parts when that came up with the book. I was like, oh my god, finally he addresses the hat thing.
That's funny. I like that.
Yes,
but the duster has its own contract, so.
Well, the duster's very important.
Yeah.
When he mentions the duster, like that becomes an important. That is like a thing.
Yeah.
Like that's interesting because I thought that too. I'm like, oh, they never mentioned his weird looking cowboy hat. Like, I don't know. That's fascinating to me, actually.
Yes. Yeah. No, it is. But every cover, he's wearing a hat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
branding.
Yep.
You know. And actually, that hat led me to believe there was more like something more. Maybe it's just because I'm a a King fan and a big Dark Tower fan, but like I see him and I kind of see Roland Dresden at the same time. So I was making a connection. There might be some type of a cowboy element to Dresden, and
No.
No, in fact, I cosplayed as Dresden years ago for a convention, and somebody said that to me too, like, oh, you're gonna wear a hat, and I'm like, Dresden doesn't wear a hat. And they were like, he does on the cover. I'm like, no, he doesn't wear a hat.
This is a conversation we could have for hours about how important covers are, and this is like a big struggle. Is like when you're branding and you're creating something for the cover of like people only judge books by the cover. Like you can have a great book description, but if they don't like your cover, you're never gonna go anywhere. Like I had some bad covers for a series that I pulled about a year ago.
Wow.
Because the covers just didn't work. Like Don bought the book, and Don's like, "This is my favorite book of yours." And I'm like, "I like it too," but nobody buys it. So I finally had to just kind of acknowledge the fact that I was looking. I'm like, "What is wrong with this?" I'm like, "This cover fucking sucks." Sorry for the swear, but it does. So I have to go back and rebrand, retitle, new cover, new stuff, because just if people don't like it, and like the hat is silly, but at the same time, it creates an iconic image that stays in your head. Like we've talked about the Dresden Files on here, and the image, because I've seen the book covers a million times. I love going to bookstores. I'm on Amazon all the time. The image is in my head, which is important, right?
Oh yeah, two decades worth. Everybody, everybody who knows anything about Harry Dresden is like, oh yeah, duster with the mantle and the hat,
and the hat
and the staff, and that's
absolutely.
Like,
and they created an image that is burned in my brain. I never read the book, but I knew you say the Dresden Files, that boom, I can see the covers. Yeah. You see like an amalgamation of covers in your head, and it's always that's super important.
Yeah. No, that's yeah, I never thought of it that way. Yes, but I will, if I, on the rare occasion I see someone cosplaying Dresden, if I see him in a hat, I'm like, nope, take it off.
But they don't know who he is otherwise, right? Because I mean, like you see,
if you got the duster and a staff and a blasting rod and
a lot of guys wear dusters. Like I mean, like I'm telling you, man, if you have the hat and the duster, it's all of it. It clicks. It makes the image.
And the pentacle amulet and the shield bracelet. Like
what's the difference between a pentacle and a pentagram?
They're both words for the same thing.
Is it the same thing as
yeah.
Does pentagram have like a more evil connotation? Because you say pentagram and I think werewolves and monsters. And
yeah. I mean, mostly when you say pentagram, most people think of the upside down point, the point pointing down. But like they actually, I forget if it was in this book. Damn it! It's important that the point is pointing up.
I don't remember them. Book. Yeah, okay, I don't remember that.
It's not in this one, but it's explained later, I guess. Then, but it's like earth, air, water, and fire, the four elements, with a soul above them. So basically the spiritual over the material. That's with it pointing up. So that's
I buy that.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we're all saying the same thing. We recommend this book.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And I guess we're gonna read the next one at some point.
2 weeks.
2 weeks is good. 2 weeks.
All right. I guess we all got homework again. So
I got a trip. I got a state tournament coming up, so do another audiobook.
All right.
Reading is fundamental.
It's also fun.
Yes. I find it very fun.
So let's then wrap this one up with some recommendations for our audience. John, you got any recommendations?
You know what? I'd say read the Codex Illyria. That would also, in addition to Harry Dresden's book, they don't wear capes, but these guys are superheroes. But the Codex Illyria is set in another world, and it's really, right. I mean, it's just really one of those good books. And the way Jim Butcher writes, they're very easy reads, very entertaining reads.
Yes.
So.
All right, JD.
Some of the video fans might have noticed that my son came in and he put this little stuffed dog on my lap. Oh. This is a dog that my mother-in-law bought a couple years ago when our dog would look like our dog wasn't going to make it, and he did, and she'd been hanging on to it for when he passes. And this has become my son's coping mechanism. And because he's saying this is the new Wicket. Like we named our dog Wicket after the Ewok, and he goes, "This is the new Wicket," and it's really helped him because I had to break the news of losing a pet to a 5-year-old, and this was his first time experiencing loss, right? and understanding, what death is, and he's still struggling with it, right? Not understanding why Wicket isn't coming home, right? So this has been, I miss my dog, first of all. He's one of my best friends. But, and this is my little boy coming in and saying, here, Daddy, now you won't be alone. Wicket will be here with you. Right? And he put this, because Wicket always hung out in my wife's office during the day when he worked. So he put him in the spot that Wicket would always sit, because he wants us to be the way it was, right? He wants it back to normal. So my recommendation is just, if you have a pet, love them. Just pet them. Tell them that they're good, because it sucks the day you lose them. Like, it does. And like I said, for us, it's harder because we're trying to educate a 5-year-old into lessons that he probably isn't ready to handle, but we kind of have no choice. So just give a pet a hug. If you have a dog, rub their ears for me. If you got a cat, try to get their attention, because cats have no loyalty.
and when you after you hug the cat, just make sure you bandage all the cuts.
Yeah, cover your cuts. Cover your cuts. If you got a fish, put them back in the bowl. They don't need a hug. Give them an extra pinch of food.
Well, thank you for bringing our audience down.
That's
JD?
That's what I do. I insulted them earlier. Now I make them feel bad.
All right. Well, I will recommend that, one, you go to superheroespeak.com, where you can find the podcast every week. Links to our social media at the top of the page, and comic book reviews by our good friend D Square. And I am also going to recommend that you go check out this great new podcast. It is available on iTunes and Spotify and almost every platform so far. If it's not on a platform, let me know. And of course, this is Spiritually Speaking, and it'll be released every Sunday. Yeah, I was stupid enough to take on a second podcast, but hey, as long as I'm entertaining you people.
Stupid or ambitious? Almost the same thing.
I was saying, what's the difference, really?
And on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening, and don't let your fedora get caught in the door. Have a good week.
Cool. I'm gonna read we're gonna reread the whole series together. That's awesome.
Fuck, you're gonna make me spend so much money.
What?
You're gonna make me spend so much money on buying these things.
I'll buy them for you. I'm serious. I will.
Why do you throw money at me? I don't mind it, but you throw money at me, and I appreciate it greatly. But are you grooming me? Like, I just have to ask the question, because I'm a married man.
No. God damn it. I'm just trying to help out. I like people. Jeez, I like people being happy. If the books are going to make you happy,
This
why
might
not?
make the final cut.